Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is launching a program to fast-track housing permits. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The program requires the city to review housing projects within 30 days. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen says the program is intended to expedite housing construction while reducing costs.
When completed, this project in University Heights will add 72 affordable homes to San Diego's tight housing market. The San Diego metro area is regularly cited as one of the most expensive places to live in the country. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is looking to change that.
All of us are paying rent and mortgage that we cannot afford, and we need more housing in order to reduce the price so that we can actually afford to live here.
The mayor chose this location specifically to announce the Complete Communities Now program. It's a result of the executive order he signed on January 10th. It builds upon the Complete Communities program and requires all relevant city departments to review housing projects under the Complete Communities program within 30 days. It's meant to streamline the permitting process and reduce costs.
Because time is money.
Complete Communities program encourages housing development near public transit. Since the program went into effect in December 2020, the city has issued 22 building permits to create 1,600 homes, including nearly 300 affordable homes.
Complete Communities Now will help to accelerate this process. It'll get more San Diegans into homes and the kind of experience that they all can value.
San Diego City Council member Stephen Whitburn is also the chair of MTS. He says building more homes near transit will reduce traffic and create more walkable neighborhoods. Councilmember Kent Lee is the chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee. He says the city needs to triple the current housing production to meet demand.
Lack of housing affordability has led to more traffic, more pollution, and more San Diegans having trouble making ends meet.
Last year, the city issued permits for nearly 10,000 new homes. That's an increase of roughly 82% over the prior year, and the highest total since at least 2005. But according to the state, the city needs roughly 13,500 new homes built each year to meet demand. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
While San Diego may be a desirable place to live for some, the sights and sounds come at a big cost. New data from the U.S. Census shows more people are moving out of San Diego County than moving in. In fact, 2023 saw 31,000 more people move out of the county than move in, almost double from a year earlier. Nonprofit United Way of San Diego points to the cost of living as the main reason why.
36% of our residents are unable to make enough money to even barely survive here. So it's no wonder that people are looking for some other places to live where they can do more, afford more, provide for their families in ways that are not so stressful.
United Way is coordinating with local schools, universities, and community colleges to create curriculum preparing students for our region's most in-demand jobs, with the hope of keeping more people from leaving the county. Veterans Affairs wants to find housing for more than 40,000 veterans nationwide by the end of this fiscal year, including almost 900 here in San Diego. KPBS military and veterans reporter Andrew Dyer has more on how the VA plans to do it.
The VA has community partnerships and purpose-built programs to address veteran homelessness, like the Aspire Center here in Old Town. One of the key programs is HUD-VASH, which connects veterans with housing vouchers and rental properties.
So the voucher that is provided to the veteran is through HUD, the Housing and Urban Development. It is a Section 8 housing choice voucher, which means that the veterans get to choose the community that they want to use the voucher in.
Jonathan Flood manages the program at the San Diego VA. He says the Aspire Center is an example of a program where they've had success.
We have housed many veterans directly from the Aspire Center and continue to provide those veterans with support directly into our programs.
He says San Diego's tight housing market presents a particular challenge for formerly homeless veterans.
So that right now is really our greatest need, because we know once we have the housing, we can lease up a veteran in that unit.
VA San Diego's goal is to find housing for 851 veterans by the end of September. It's part of the just announced goal the department set for the entire country to place 41,000 homeless veterans into permanent housing. Flood says they're on pace to meet that goal, or at least most of it.
We were at 95% last year of the goal, and we certainly will hope to repeat that as well. So we're very confident that we will continue to, even in this market, continue to find those landlords.
The VA says it's found housing for more than 300 San Diego veterans since the fiscal year began in October. Nationwide, the VA says more than 21,000 veterans found homes last year through the HUD-VASH program. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
I'm Ariella Scalise, coming up tonight, we're turning partly cloudy as temperatures drop down to around 50 degrees. Still some showery activity, still a little bit cooler at times before we start to watch a warmer and drier pattern make a comeback. A closer look at the forecast is just ahead.
A City of San Diego-owned property in Del Mar is caught up in controversy and a lawsuit for events happening on its fields. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says some neighbors and organizations say Surf Sports Park is being misused, and the issue may end up being settled in court.
The well-manicured soccer pitches and facilities of Surf Sports Park are surrounded by nature preserves and high-end homes. But there's trouble in paradise.
Over the course of a year, we'll have 400,000 or 500,000 people coming to this place with traffic congestion, noise problems, pollution.
Larry Pollock lives near the park. He says the fields don't feel like an open public space anymore, especially since 2016, when Surf Sports took over the site from the San Diego Polo Club.
What they've done here is they've decided to make this almost like a West Coast headquarters.
We've put about $5 million into the property to transition it from being a horse property into the premier youth sports facility in the country.
Brian Engie is COO of Surf Sports, which currently operates the site under a 28-year lease with the City of San Diego. The Surf Sports website says they host 35 events in San Diego each year, hosting people from all over the country. It's the number of events that upset its neighbors, and the Fairbanks Polo Club Homeowners Association is suing the City of San Diego because of it. While Pollock isn't a part of that lawsuit, he agrees with what it stands for.
I think the City of San Diego is as accountable, maybe even more, because they understand and have acknowledged what's in the lease. And they are allowing Surf Cup to violate that lease.
The suit says the violation is in hosting events too often, up to 200 days a year. It says the lease only allows 25 days of events per year. KPBS asked Engie about that number. He didn't have exact figures, but said they let other groups use the park too, and talked about the overall impact.
We create hotel rooms, jobs, economic impact by bringing people into the city here. And we help kids chase their dreams. I have a hard time figuring out what's wrong with that.
Pollock says he's concerned the park has turned into a major sports and event complex, which falls outside of what the grant deed allows, which is non-commercial recreational uses that don't involve large gatherings of people or cars.
It should be essentially used as a park.
Maggie Brown is president of the Friends of the San Diego River Valley, which unsuccessfully sued the city in 2016 over use of the fields. Brown says there's sensitive wetland habitat all around the area.
The wildlife corridors have all been cut off by the fencing that's there. The birds stay away from it. It really is very damaging to the environment.
In the past couple of years, Surf Sports was previously cited for illegally redirecting stormwater and issued a civil penalty notice for unpermitted grading and filling. Engie says the environmental concerns have been fixed, but Brown is concerned about further expansion efforts, including an adjacent property that is slated to become a youth sports complex.
The things that they have done there represent intensified commercial use, which is specifically not allowed by the grant deed on the land that they're on.
Engie says the size and intensity of the events have not increased over time, and that they strive to comply with all aspects of their lease.
We've had the same number of fields for many, many years. It's the same size of property. You can't fit more teams onto an event in the same time of daylight in the same type of fields.
Since 2022, some of those fields are also being used by the San Diego Wave FC, and the lawsuit says that's added to the problems of public access and commercial use on site. Engie says the concerns are coming from a small but vocal minority who want peace and quiet in their neighborhood.
We don't start our events too early. We don't make them too late. We let them know when they're having events. We want to be respectful, good neighbors.
The park is in Joe LaCava's city council district. We reached out to him, the mayor's office, and the city attorney's office, but they all said they could not comment on pending litigation. The city attorney's office said a trial date has been scheduled for March 14th, 2025. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
San Diego's Wave FC is making headlines for a record-breaking deal that's bringing women's sports to a new level. SDSU's Miro Kopik tells us about the record-breaking deal to sell the team in the Friday Business Report.
Ron Burkle is selling the Wave to Levine Leichman Capital Partners. This company is a private equity firm that has close to $10 billion in assets under management. They've been around since 1984. They valued the Wave franchise at $113 million, and they're going to pay $35 million now for about roughly a third, and then the remainder at the end of the 2024 season. The value of women's sports and women's sports franchises has been transformational in the last several years. There's a report by Deloitte that said, they project that revenues from women's sports in 2024 will exceed $1.2 billion. That's 300% higher than they projected in 2021. So just in a couple of years, the value of women's sports franchises has exploded.
Around 100,000 people across California will need a new insurance company now that a subsidiary of Farmers Insurance is shutting down. A customer here in San Diego is among them. Chris Cott told our media partner KGTV that he got a letter from Farmers Direct saying his auto insurance will end in May and will not be renewed. Farmers says the branch is leaving California, quote, to increase operational efficiency and manage risk exposure.
Something totally unexpected. I'm not getting any help. Now it's like starting all over. It really is. It's like getting divorced and then getting onto a dating app.
Insurance industry experts say companies want to raise policy rates, but California's strict regulations make it difficult to do so. As a result, auto insurance companies are pulling out of the state. A spokesperson for the state insurance commissioner says Californians pay less on average for auto insurance than other states. He pointed to 100 other insurance companies that write policies in California. There can be as many as 5 generations in the office right now, and in some cases, workplace attitudes don't align. But as Karen Kafa explains, there are some takeaways for older generations.
When the House overwhelmingly passed a bill that could ban TikTok in the U.S., its first Gen Z member, Maxwell Frost of Florida, was in the spotlight for his age and his no vote.
Yes, it has to do with young people, but taking a step back, I just think it's bad policy.
Frost is 27 years old. His oldest Democratic colleagues are in their 80s. The leader of his caucus, 53. The House, a high-profile example of 5 generations in a workplace. The silent generation, boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z.
We have more generations in the workplace than ever before because people are living and working longer.
That on its own creates workplace challenges, but multi-generation work expert Lindsay Pollock says the COVID-19 pandemic's disruptions added more layers, especially for Gen Z.
They just don't have that experience of being in some of the situations that maybe older generations might take for granted.
Amid talk of their more casual approach to interviews, even to showing up on time, career strategist Julie Bauke says Gen Z may have other priorities because they have so many career options.
So they are less likely to follow the edicts, the declarations of an employer, because they see work as a collaborative experience, not as a top-down, you tell me what to do and I do it.
While that might irk coworkers, Bauke says Gen Z workers are taking a firmer stance on work-life balance than older generations.
This has been generationally coming, and it's finally gotten to the point where we have a generation who said, I'm willing to take a stand.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
They were the last international journalists in Mariupol, Ukraine, during the Russian invasion in 2022, with cameras constantly rolling. They documented the first 20 days of that siege until they could make their escape to safety. Now, their harrowing account just won an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature Film, and the film was produced by PBS's Frontline, and I had a chance to speak with executive producer Rainey Aronson-Roth.
Russians have entered the city. The war has begun.
Rainey, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
And congratulations on your Academy Award.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a real honor.
Can you take us through the events that brought about 20 Days in Mariupol and how it came to be produced as a cinematic film?
Right. It's a great story. So, of course, the reporters who were in Mariupol at the time were the last journalists who were there during the siege of Mariupol in the beginning of the war of Ukraine. And so they were there and they were filming. And we started to see images. We all saw the maternity ward images, right? It was really dramatic and heartbreaking. And then we were in a partnership with the Associated Press, and they told us, actually the team had escaped, and you see that in the documentary, and that they had probably close to 34 hours of footage. And so I got to meet the reporter right away after he got out of Mariupol, and that started a conversation that led to 20 Days in Mariupol.
What was it that you saw in the film, the footage, that made you feel like, I'm going to bet on this film?
I mean, first of all, when we were watching the news come out of Mariupol, we knew it was a dramatic moment, and we knew that the images were searing. What we didn't know is that Mstislav Chernov, the director, had already been thinking, this should be a documentary, so he had filmed it as such. He was starting to film the streets differently, and he talks about this, but you can see how the footage changes from the beginning of his time in Mariupol to the end, where he starts to think about the sequences and the people. And that's what we saw in his footage. We saw so many moments that were documentary moments. There's one moment with a father who's crying over his son, 16-year-old son who's just been killed playing soccer outside. And that moment for me as a mother of a 16-year-old boy at the time who's also an athlete, that spoke to me in a way that so transcended the geographic boundaries between Ukraine and where I was watching it in Boston that I thought to myself, that's a documentary. Those moments lead us to seeing what we saw, which is a cinematic story.
In the documentary, we understand that Chernov was filming constantly. And during that filming, we would see citizens yelling at him. Talk to us about that, and at what point is the journalism changing because of that?
Right. I mean, first of all, we chose to keep those moments, and Mstislav himself really wanted the moments that people were angry as he was filming it, also the moments where they thanked him for filming. And that's really what happened to him, is both experiences, people begging him to tell their stories, but also people frustrated. Why are you filming this? Can't you do more than film? And I think for all of us as journalists, that's the question you're asking as you're filming or reporting on something is this enough? And I think in this case, because they were the last journalists, the most important thing they could have done is document what they were seeing on the ground so that we have it for today and obviously for history. They were able to document something, otherwise we'd have no idea what happened there.
Now, you mentioned history. And this film, in many ways, is a first. And as Chernov said in his acceptance speech, this is a first for Ukraine. And even President Zelensky talked about this on Twitter. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, hearing him say it, I knew, right, that this would be the first documentary, or literally first Oscar for Ukraine, right, for a Ukrainian filmmaker. I didn't understand the gravity of that until I was on stage and he said those words, because we had just won. And hearing the crowd respond, the crowd was so supportive of Mstislav in that moment, was nothing short of extraordinary, because you felt this collective cheer for him, that this was a moment for Ukraine, it was a moment for him, but it was a moment for everyone, and it was just extraordinary.
Do you feel that you, your team, and Mstislav Chernov accomplished what you wanted to accomplish in making this film?
Well, I mean, I don't think we could have ever imagined that we'd win an Oscar. And I think to us in the public media space, those of us who don't have big marketing budgets, those of us who don't have advertising budgets, right, that we were acknowledged in this way is a big win for public media, because it says that together, when we stand together as a public media system behind a film, with the journalists and the leadership at the Associated Press, that can equal success is something that we never could have imagined. And it's just wonderful when you think of pathways in the future, that we can actually create pathways for really important journalism and really important films together.
Very important storytelling. Thank you so very much, Rainey.
Thank you for having me.
And 20 Days in Mariupol is available for streaming. Look for it at pbs.org and on the PBS app.
Looking at our weather headlines as we watch the storm system continue to push east, bringing some more wet and even winter weather through the Four Corners. For us, it's a cooler start to the weekend at least, maybe some lingering showers in spots on Saturday before warmer, drier conditions move in for the second half of the weekend and the start of next week. Tonight, under a clear sky, we're down to about 45 in Oceanside, San Diego 50, Chula Vista, a few clouds 47, Borrego Springs 43, and Mount Laguna, temperatures dropping to the upper 20s tonight. Here's that storm system I was talking about, ever so slow to just move east here, still bringing with it some showers throughout the southern part of the Sierra, and we're seeing plenty of snow throughout Utah, Colorado, into Arizona, New Mexico. Otherwise, things are drier the farther north and warmer at the farther north you get into the state. I think a shower or two possible around San Diego and Mount Laguna as we head into the day on Saturday. Borrego Springs, though, mostly sunny, 68 degrees. Oceanside 68, and Chula Vista, you'll see those upper 60s. Not much movement here with the low as we head into the day on Sunday, so still tracking the wet weather across the Four Corners, but things turning warmer and drier for SoCal as we head into the day on Sunday. You'll notice that warm up here along the coast, so upper 60s Saturday, 70 on Sunday, and then we'll keep seeing temperatures into the upper 70s Monday and Tuesday before some more clouds will bring temperatures back into the upper 60s by next Wednesday. Further in, then we go for the 5-day outlook, where there will be more clouds and sunshine on Saturday. Sunday's warmer, then temperatures really skyrocket as we head into Monday with a high of 78, and then we'll see a slow decline in temperatures by Tuesday and Wednesday. A shower or two possible into the mountains as we head into the day Saturday. It's cold with a little bit of that wet weather at 37, and then we'll start to see temperatures moderate a bit as we head into next week, highs back into the 40s. Into the deserts we go, where the heat starts to peak as we head into next week, highs back into the 80s Tuesday and Wednesday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
The Spring Safari returns to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park tomorrow, and it features a butterfly jungle. There will also be an array of strawberry-themed food and drinks and other spring-themed activities. The butterfly jungle habitat will be open daily from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. through May 12th. Some San Diego community college students are getting a free ride for their education, but this support is not going toward tuition. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us it helps meet another fundamental need.
Adriana dos Santos is on the move a lot. She is an immigrant from Brazil, building a life in the U.S. that includes time on the road.
Hi, good morning.
Your native tongue is Portuguese?
Yes.
She is the student trustee on the San Diego Community College Board, representing the College of Continuing Education, where she is also working on a degree and learning English. She depends on taxis to get around.
The last week, I need to attend in Miramar college. $50.09 is so expensive for just one drive.
That ride was at no cost to Adriana, and this one is free too, thanks to a pilot program now underway in a partnership between the College of Continuing Education and about 100 drivers with the United Taxi Workers of San Diego. Using an app similar to rideshare programs, students have $100 vouchers to pay for taxis to and from school. It's a financial break for students who need it most.
When you're taking classes at several different campuses, it's a challenge. And at the additional challenge of possibly having a job, being a parent, having to work and go to school.
Adriana is grateful for the help, which translates in any language.
Ajuda.
Ayuda,
Ajuda.
which is similar to Spanish.
Yeah.
Ayuda.
Yeah.
And this is a program that really helps students, isn't it?
Yes.
According to the district, 46%, almost half of all students attending a continuing education campus have an annual income of under $10,000. So a car is a luxury, but a ride is a necessity. The vouchers are being funded through the SDCCE CARES school budget, which pays for students' basic needs. A click on the website link gets students connected to vouchers, which they can reapply for as they need them. It's a pilot program designed to help the surrounding community as well, like the Mid-City campus in City Heights, where many of the taxi drivers live.
The drivers are providing rides to the students. The students are paying the drivers, who then give it to their families who are part of this community. So it's that we're keeping the money in the community, and we're community building community wealth.
Adriana is happy to be a part of that.
You're getting help to save money.
Yes.
Can you tell me that in Portuguese?
Você pode ter ajuda para economizar dinheiro.
Understood.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.